A strange stillness had taken over the room only hours earlier, one that felt heavier than sound itself, as though time had briefly paused without warning. She was going about something ordinary, something so familiar it required no thought, when the atmosphere subtly shifted, pulling her attention inward before she even realized why. The air felt different, almost charged with an unseen presence, and for a brief moment she simply stood there, unsure what had changed, but certain that something had. Even the simplest details around her began to feel unfamiliar. The light along the wall softened into a muted glow. Distant sounds from outside faded into a low hum, and the rhythm of her own heartbeat became unexpectedly noticeable, like a quiet drum marking each second. Her hands, which had been moving automatically, slowed and then stopped, as if guided by an unseen hesitation. She turned slightly toward the corner of the room, not because she saw anything, but because something within her seemed to recognize meaning before her thoughts could catch up. There was no dramatic event, no obvious signal, only an inner shift that grew stronger with each passing second. In that suspended moment, she realized that something long buried in memory had surfaced again, uninvited yet undeniable, carrying with it an emotional weight she had not prepared to face today, and it left her standing between present awareness and forgotten echoes of the past. She remembered words, faces, promises, and moments she thought had already faded. Yet in that hour, every forgotten detail returned with unusual clarity, as if time itself had opened a hidden page only for her. She slowly sat down, trying to understand why her eyes suddenly filled with emotion without any clear reason. Nothing outside had changed, but inside her, everything had shifted. She looked toward the door, then toward the window, and then back at the quiet room, wondering why it suddenly felt as if something important had just passed through that space. Do not skip, because this part matters more than it seems. At that exact time, she noticed something small on the table, something that had been there before, something ordinary, yet now it carried meaning she had never attached to it. She touched it carefully, and the moment her fingers reached it, another memory surfaced, stronger than the first one. A sentence she once heard returned to her exactly as it had been spoken, word for word, tone for tone, as if the past had decided to speak again. Her breathing changed. She was no longer sitting in a normal evening. She was sitting inside a moment that felt connected to something unfinished. Even the quiet around her felt as though it was holding its breath. She stood again, walked 2 steps, stopped, and looked back as if expecting an answer from the room itself. Something huge is waiting for you, because what she felt next was not fear, not confusion, and not sadness alone. It was the strange certainty that something important was about to unfold. She did not know whether it was a realization, a message inside her heart, or simply the moment when hidden truth becomes impossible to ignore. There are moments when a room becomes more than walls and furniture. There are moments when the smallest corner begins to hold emotion stronger than words. That was exactly what happened. The room where she stood became the place where old questions returned and where silent answers began to form. She moved toward the mirror, looked at herself, and for several seconds said nothing. Her own reflection looked unfamiliar because the expression on her face had changed. She looked like someone who had just understood something without hearing it spoken aloud. Her eyes carried surprise, but also recognition, as if deep inside she already knew why this moment had arrived. Stay till the end, because the next feeling was even more powerful. A sound reached her ears from outside, simple and ordinary, yet it arrived exactly at the moment her thoughts became intense. That sound seemed to confirm what she had already begun to feel, that this was not a random hour, not an ordinary evening, and not a passing emotion. She returned to the center of the room and sat again, but this time with full attention, as if waiting. Waiting for what? She could not explain. Yet something inside told her not to move too quickly, not to leave, not to distract herself, because something unfinished was finally reaching her heart. Do not skip now, because this is where everything becomes deeper. She remembered a conversation from long ago, one sentence that had once sounded small, but now felt powerful. At the time, she did not understand its meaning, but only a few hours ago, sitting in that same room, she suddenly understood why those words had stayed hidden in her memory for so long. The room had become a place of realization. The quiet had become a voice. The ordinary had become unforgettable. And before the hour ended, she understood that this moment would stay with her far longer than she expected. Something huge is waiting for you, because what she realized in that room was only the beginning. A few minutes later, the stillness inside that room became even more unusual, because she suddenly noticed that the same thought kept returning no matter how hard she tried to focus on something else. It was not a random memory anymore. Something about the moment felt strangely unresolved, as if time had folded back on itself without warning. She turned her gaze again toward the same corner of the room, and what she noticed this time unsettled her more than before, because the feeling inside her was not diminishing but quietly intensifying. A slow awareness began to rise, making it harder for her to dismiss what she had been sensing. She stood up carefully, almost cautiously, as though any sudden movement might disturb an invisible thread holding the moment together. The silence around her remained intact, yet within it she felt a subtle shift, like an answer forming just out of sight. On a nearby shelf rested an object she had ignored for a long time, passing it countless days without a second thought, until now, when it seemed to pull her attention with unexpected force. She reached out and lifted it gently, and the moment her eyes focused on it, something long buried inside her memory unlocked with sudden clarity. A voice she once knew returned vividly in her mind, carrying the exact rhythm, pauses, and emotional weight as if it were spoken right beside her. Her expression changed completely, because the memory did not arrive faintly, but with overwhelming presence, making her realize how deeply the past still lingered within her, leaving her still and silent as everything quietly settled into a deeper, unavoidable understanding within herself now fully. She lowered her head for a moment, thinking perhaps she was imagining too much, but the feeling inside her heart refused to leave. It became clearer that this hour carried something unusual, something she had never experienced in exactly this way before. Do not skip, because even the smallest detail around her began to feel connected. The curtain near the window moved slightly, though the air felt still. A faint sound from outside reached her ears. At the exact second, another memory opened inside her mind. She remembered a promise, once spoken casually, a sentence she had almost forgotten, but now it returned with meaning she had never understood until that very hour. Something huge is waiting for you, because she suddenly realized why this room felt different. It was not only the place she was standing in, it was the place where many silent emotions had remained unfinished. She slowly walked toward the window and looked outside, but her attention was not on what she saw. Her attention stayed inside her thoughts. She understood now that her heart was connecting pieces she had left scattered for too long. Stay till the end, because what happened next surprised even her. She turned back toward the bed, and at that exact moment, she noticed something she had not seen earlier. A small folded paper near the side, almost hidden in plain sight. She could not remember placing it there recently. She reached for it carefully, unfolded it, and paused before reading. Her breathing changed again. The words were simple, but their timing felt extraordinary. It was not about how many words were written. It was about why she found them exactly now, exactly when her emotions had already become impossible to explain. Do not skip, because this moment carried a strange weight she could not deny. She read the line once, then again, and each time it felt more connected to everything she had been sensing since the beginning of that hour. She sat quietly, holding the paper, staring at nothing for several seconds. It was as if the room itself had waited until she was ready to notice what had always been near her. Something huge is waiting for you, because the truth forming inside her was becoming clearer. Some moments do not arrive loudly, yet they change how everything feels afterward. She looked toward the door again, almost expecting someone to appear, but no one came. The room stayed silent, yet that silence now felt full of meaning, and deep inside, she knew this was not the end of what had begun there only a few hours ago. Then the room became even quieter than before, the kind of quiet that makes every tiny movement feel important. She placed the folded paper beside her and remained still, because now her thoughts were moving faster than her hands. The words she had just read did not leave her mind. Instead, they opened another layer of memory she had not expected to face that day. Do not skip, because this next moment changed the meaning of everything she had already felt. She looked at the clock without truly reading the time, then looked back toward the same place where her attention had been returning again and again, as if that corner of the room was holding an answer she could almost reach, but not fully understand. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and this is where her heart began to recognize a pattern. The same feeling, the same memories, the same quiet pull. None of it was random anymore. It all seemed connected, as if several unfinished moments had chosen the same hour to return together. She stood again and took slow steps across the room. In that quiet moment, everything around her seemed to shift into a different kind of clarity, as though the world had subtly rearranged itself while she was not looking. Familiar objects no longer felt ordinary. Instead, they appeared layered with meaning, as if each item in the room carried a trace of a forgotten memory. A chair resting against the wall, a book left untouched for days, even the faint reflection caught in the mirror's surface. All of it seemed connected in a way she could not explain, but deeply sensed. She suddenly stopped, her thoughts interrupted by a memory rising from somewhere distant in her mind. A sentence she had once heard returned with unexpected precision, not just its words but the emotion it once carried. Back then, it had seemed insignificant, something easily dismissed, yet now it returned with a quiet weight that made her reconsider everything. It felt as though that moment had been preserved, waiting for her to finally understand it. Her expression shifted As realization settled in, replacing uncertainty with calm awareness, she lowered herself into a seated position again, this time more grounded, observing her surroundings with focused attention. In the stillness, even the smallest detail began to stand out. Near the edge of the room, something slightly misplaced drew her gaze. It was subtle, almost invisible at first glance, yet now it felt impossible to ignore. She stepped closer and noticed it revealed. She reached carefully, lifted it, and held it in silence. The feeling that followed was immediate. Her breathing slowed, her eyes softened, and once again she felt that unusual certainty that the room was not ordinary anymore. Stay till the end, because what happened inside her heart at that second mattered more than anything visible around her. She understood that the strongest moments do not always arrive with noise. Sometimes they arrive through recognition, through that sudden knowing that something meaningful has just connected inside you. She looked around once more, this time not with confusion, but with the quiet awareness that something had shifted forever. The same walls, the same light, the same silence, yet none of it felt the same anymore. Do not skip now, because the next realization came gently but powerfully. She understood that she had entered that room carrying ordinary thoughts, but now she was leaving with something entirely different, a feeling that one hidden chapter had quietly opened. The paper on the bed, the memory in her mind, the object in her hand, the silence around her, all of it now formed one complete moment. Something huge is waiting for you, because she knew deep inside that what began only a few hours ago in that room had not finished speaking yet. By the time the next few moments arrived, she no longer felt that she was simply sitting inside a room. It felt as though she had stepped into a pause between past and present, where every quiet detail around her was carrying a message she had once missed. The air remained calm, yet her thoughts had become sharper than ever, and she could feel that something unfinished was moving closer to full understanding. Do not skip, because this was the part she would later remember more clearly than anything else. She looked again at what she was holding, then placed it down carefully, almost respectfully, as though even the smallest movement deserved attention now. The room had become deeply personal, not because anything dramatic had appeared, but because meaning had entered every ordinary detail around her. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. And the next realization arrived without warning. She noticed that the same memory which had returned earlier was now connecting to another one, and together they formed something she had never seen clearly before. Separate moments from different days suddenly fit together as if they had always belonged in the same story. She stood near the mirror again, and this time looked longer at her own reflection. Her face carried calm, but behind that calm was recognition. She understood now why her heart had refused to ignore the silence of that room. Sometimes the truth reaches quietly, but once it arrives, it changes the way every previous moment looks. Then she heard a faint sound again from outside, simple and ordinary, yet perfectly timed. It made her turn her head instantly, and for one brief second, she felt as if the world outside the room had paused, just enough to let her understand what was happening inside it. Do not skip, because this next feeling stayed with her more strongly than she expected. She walked slowly toward the door, touched the handle, but did not open it immediately. Instead, she stood there, thinking about how different she felt from only an hour before. She had walked into the room with an ordinary mind, carrying the kind of thoughts that rarely leave a trace. Yet as she stood still in that quiet space, everything around her seemed to shift in meaning. The familiar setting no longer felt routine. It carried a strange heaviness, as if every object had been waiting for this exact moment to reveal something unspoken. Before she left, her gaze lingered one last time over the bed, the table, the silent corner of the room, and even the small folded paper resting there, each detail now appearing strangely connected, forming a pattern she had never noticed before. A deeper realization began to surface, not as a sudden revelation but as a slow, unfolding clarity, that what had happened was not random at all, and neither was its timing. It was not about a single moment alone, but about the quiet way memory, emotion, and awareness had aligned without warning. She understood then that some experiences do not announce themselves loudly. They arrive in stillness, so they can settle deeper, staying long after noise would have faded them away. Pausing at the door, she hesitated, aware that stepping out would not mean leaving it behind, because something of it had already become part of her. The hallway beyond looked unchanged, ordinary in every way, yet she no longer felt like the same person who had entered earlier, as what she carried now was a subtle but lasting shift in understanding that would continue shaping her thoughts long after the moment had passed.